A different type of structure is causing a storm of controversy at the Oklahoma State Capitol. At issue is a granite monument that is pitting a civil rights group against state officials and attracting attention from a handful of organizations, each wanting their own monument on the Capitol grounds.
The statue depicting the King James Version of the Ten Commandments was erected on the Capitol's north side in November of 2012. State Representative Mike Ritz sponsored legislation 4 years ago allowing the statue to be placed on state property. The monument soon drew the ire of ordained Baptist minister Bruce Prescott, who says his issue isn't with the Ten Commandments, but with lawmakers who he believes are endorsing a state religion.
We shouldn't be trying to erect monuments here. If they want to erect a monument, put it at their house, put it at their church. Actually, the Bible says that you put it on the doorposts of your house. Memorize it, live by it. I'm not opposed to the Ten Commandments. I just think this is the wrong place for them to be.
Prescott took his concerns to the American Civil Liberties Union of Oklahoma and is now the lead plaintiff in a lawsuit seeking to remove the monument from the Capitol grounds. The lawsuit alleges the monument violates the Oklahoma State Constitution, which states no public money or property shall ever be appropriated, applied, donated, or used directly or indirectly for the use, benefit, or support of any sect, church, denomination, or system of religion. Brady Henderson is legal director for ACLU of Oklahoma.
And we think by the government effectively endorsing this religious message by using public property as, in a sense, a very literal sense, a bulletin board or a signboard for religion and for a sacred text, that they're violating that important part of our Constitution.
Supporters of the monument argue it's not an endorsement of religion, but a reflection of the history upon which much of the Western Code of Law is based, an argument that has been given added weight by the U.S. Supreme Court. Andrew Spiropoulos is a professor of constitutional law at Oklahoma City University.
The court has said that you can have monuments that celebrate our history and tradition, that celebrate our heritage, which is why the proponents of the Ten Commandments monument always put it in terms of our history and tradition and the importance of the Ten Commandments within that tradition.
But Spiropoulos adds the High Court has traditionally taken a very restricted view of what constitutes a historical monument.
You can't have this kind of monument if a reasonable observer would see it as an endorsement of religion. The way the court defines that is that it makes certain people feel like they're favored insiders, the religious people, and makes people who don't like the message feel like disfavored outsiders.
State Representative John Bennett has introduced legislation citing the Ten Commandments and other historical documents as treasures that should be displayed proudly and resolutely in public buildings and on public grounds. House Bill 2348 authorizes cities, counties, and other political subdivisions to display on public property replicas of historical documents, including, but not limited to, the Ten Commandments, Magna Carta, Mayflower Compact, Declaration of Independence, United States Constitution, Bill of Rights, Oklahoma Constitution, and other historically significant documents. Prescott says his concern is that if the Ten Commandments monument is allowed to remain on the grounds of the Capitol, the area will soon become an open forum.
And then we're going to have all kinds of monuments to other faiths because the government cannot establish one faith. So if you have an open forum, it's a free-for-all. We'll have monuments scattered all over up here for different faiths and religions and people of no faith.
There are signs that's just what's happening. Soon after the lawsuit was filed, the New York-based Satanic Temple submitted a request to the Capitol Preservation Commission seeking permission to erect a 7-foot-tall statue of Baphomet, a goat-headed pagan idol flanked by 2 small children near the Ten Commandments monument. Other groups have come forward with their own request, including a Hindu group that wants to put up a statue of Hindu deity Lord Hanuman, and even a proposal from the satirical Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. Henderson says a similar pattern occurred last year in Florida, where the placement of a nativity scene in the Capitol Rotunda led to some interesting displays.
A new holiday was born. A Festivus for the rest of us.
Other folks came along and said, well, I want my religion represented too. I want my philosophy represented. So eventually what happened is not only was there a nativity scene there in the Capitol Rotunda, right next to it there was a Festivus pole made out of Pabst Blue Ribbon beer cans. Right next to the thing. Next to that, there was a monument to the Flying Spaghetti Monster.
Representative Ritz did not respond to request for an interview, but in a prepared statement last December said, "The satanic statue issue has nothing to do with the current case about the Oklahoma Ten Commandments monument. The OK monument is constitutional. It is an exact replica of the one that sits on the Texas state capitol grounds that the U.S. Supreme Court upheld in Van Orden versus Perry. It would be bizarre if Texas can have its Ten Commandments monument, but Oklahoma cannot." In the Texas case, the Supreme Court ruled the Texas monument was part of a broader historical context and did not constitute an endorsement of religion. Henderson says the Texas statue also had a more secular purpose.
Relive the magic of an unforgettable motion picture event. The Ten Commandments.
The Texas monument was designed partially as essentially a publicity device for the Charlton Heston version of the Ten Commandments, for Cecil B. DeMille's movie.
Spiropoulos says there is another difference between the Oklahoma monument and the one in Texas.
The legislature didn't deliberately put it there to say something about religion. It had just been there for so long that nobody knew it was a problem when they first put it up, and so nobody would see it as being religious. It's hard to see that about ours, because ours was put there deliberately to state this message.
The Capitol Preservation Commission has since placed a moratorium on new displays at the State House that could impact plans for a proposed new monument depicting the first 10 amendments to the U.S. Constitution. Senator Patrick Anderson's bill calling for construction of a Bill of Rights monument cleared a Senate committee last week.
All the freedoms that we enjoy, whether it's freedom of speech, freedom of press, right to bear arms, those all are found in the Bill of Rights document, and we need to remind ourselves where those founding freedoms are.
Anderson admits to concerns regarding the Commission's moratorium.
They will control whether this monument is ever placed on the Capitol grounds, bottom line. The legislature is simply authorizing them to place the monument on the grounds. We're not directing them to do it, but it's basically letting them know that we support it.
However, Commission Chair Trey Thompson told ONR in an email the Capitol Preservation Commission does not have the ability to dictate policy to the legislature. As a creation of the legislature, we must abide by state law. If the legislature is to pass a law with a mandate that the Bill of Rights monument be placed on the Capitol grounds and the governor signs the measure, we must follow the law.